Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Waffles RC. Today we are starting another new project, even though I have like 3 that aren't finished, but the Impala is getting painted, so that's why that's not here, because I'm not painting it. Mrs. Waffles' Tercel gets built on the live, so not touching that. The Semi is waiting for parts for me to order because I need a paycheck. So what are we going to work on now? Well, a few of you have seen it in the background, so allow me to go get it. That's right, another very small RC car. This is a Sen Racing, very customized, as you can tell by the amount of doors, F450. And it's the 450 because you can tell it's a dually. We will not be making this a dually. This is going to be another mud truck. But this is not for me. This is going to be for Troy over at RC Customs USA. He's a small channel, just getting started. Everybody go check it out right there. I'll put a link down in the description as well. He's got some cool projects coming up on his own stuff, but this I'm making for him as part of trade for other stuff that I got. Mud truck. That means mud truck frame. Now this has a custom frame. Don't want to hurt this body. So the original builder of this just did what looks like pieced together multiple Sen Racing frames to make it this long. I'm going to reutilize the body mounts and the bumpers. So we're going to have to make bumper mounts along with everything. So we have our template. Let's get our metal and get to cutting. If you're new to this channel, the stuff that I use for frames is 1/2-inch square stock. You can get it at most hardware stores. These are 4-foot sticks, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to need all of this because this thing is quite long. The other issue that I have with this, or sorry, not the other issue, the thing that I have to keep in mind is that Troy has an interior for this thing. So I have to keep room for the interior. Just something that I should keep in mind while building this thing. But we will start with the basics of chopping all this and turning it into a frame. Something like this, but significantly longer. Yeah, that goes to the middle of the cab. The middle of the middle doors. So, we have that for reference. Let's get to work. So I have taken the bumpers off of this frame, and I realized I don't need this as reference because I build all my frames off of the bodies, not off of somebody else's chassis. So, what we're gonna do with this, perfect. Let's make our own frame. And just like that, we have a frame rail. I've gotten pretty good at this, so getting these frames knocked out, it just all comes down to the body, but this part goes pretty quickly for me. Even with cutting and time-lapse, I think I'm about 15 minutes into this thing. But now I have to make another one that looks exactly like it. That's the trick. So I'll bring you back when that's done. And there are some frame rails. Now I will admit, I am spending a little bit of extra time trying to make these look good, or at least gooder than what I do for myself, because this is not for me. So I catch myself paying a little more attention. Like when I was grinding it down, I found that I missed a little hole. So I actually refilled it instead of just covering it with paint. This is a new experience for me, trying to make something look better than what I would do for myself. Now, the next step, now that we have the frame rails, is we need to know how wide they are. As per usual, axles. So the axles are going to determine the width of our frame rail. That way the coilovers won't hit the frame, everything will be straight, and the control arms, everything will line up correctly. So that's why they are still apart instead of welded together. Ask me how many times I made that mistake. So whether Troy likes it or not, he's getting these axles. These are AR60 knockoff axles, and I'm sure some of the longtime viewers are saying, hey, those look quite familiar. And that is because they're the same axles that are on the original mud truck, which are almost 2 years old and still have not replaced a single thing in them. And it was faster than my speed truck, but we'll ignore that fact. And also, they're the same axles in the new mud truck. The only difference is I painted the diff cover. Even though this truck is for somebody else, Troy is giving me some creative license on whether I know the parts are worth it or not. And these axles, so far, in my trucks, have been absolutely worth it. If you too want to build a mud truck, I highly recommend these. I don't remember the name of them, but there will be a link in the description down below for you to go and check them out on Amazon. Like I said, 2 years old in that other truck, and they're still going strong. Not a single bearing has failed, not a stripped gear, nothing. I have replaced absolutely nothing on that truck. Except for the 2 transmission, 3 slipper clutches, about 14 drive shafts, and 2 transfer cases. But, you know, nothing. So I do still have to take these apart and grease and Loctite them. But for now, the main measurement that we need is right there. So the measurements that I use, if you're going to mount the coilovers inside of here, you need the measurement from the inside of this bracket to the inside of that bracket. Now, sometimes I like to go a little bit wider and put them on the outside. So then I would need the measurement from the inside of this outer bracket to the inside of this outer bracket. And then I'll run the control arms in here like so. Except this is the tie rod, so we're not using that. Well, we're using it. You get it. You get it. So now I'm at the point of this particular build of what style do I want to go with? Do I want the coilovers on the outside? Kind of leaning towards that's what I want to do. I'm looking at the brackets just to see how I want to set this up. You know what? I'm going to go for on the outside. Another cool thing that I have done in the past with even these generic axles, these ones still use all essentially the exact same axial parts. So you see how this one is steering, so this is your front axle. You can make this one a front axle as well, because even though they are reversed, all you have to do is change these outer hubs to a C hub and then get new axle shafts, and you'll need a knuckle too. So, you know, there's some parts that you have to buy, but the center sections on these, don't know how well it's going to come across on camera, but the center sections, if we hold them up, are exactly the same. You still have the screw holes on top, so if you want a steering servo, you can do it. And I do actually have to ask Troy if he wants me to make this 4-wheel steering, because then I could show you guys how to convert this rear axle into a steer axle. I don't know. I will talk to him and I'm sure you guys will find out. Let's get our measurement. I know, the devil tape, but we're going to use it. Okay, I am going to go with, oh no, see, we have to, even though I'm mounting them on the outside, I need to make sure that the frame is skinny enough for the depth of the coilovers, which I don't have. Let's guess. Guessing at 4 3/4 inches. Now here is where I make the same mistake almost every time I make these frames. You'd think I'd learned by now. And of course, some of you are going to laugh at the fact that I still haven't got this, even though I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. But some of us are slower learners than others. So we know that we want our total width at 4 3/4. These are 1/2 inch. So that total makes 1 inch. So if you're going to mount the bar, the cross member on the inside, you need to take 1 inch out of your initial measurement, which for me was 4 3/4. So that means I need to make this 3 3/4. I'm going to do one over here and one back here, and that will set our width for the frame. Then we will cheat and use the one that we just cut to cut our next one. Is it that hard to get the tape measure back out and do it again? No. Am I going to? No. There we go. All done. We'll get the tape measure and just make sure I did it correctly. I did. And to also make sure, yeah, that looks good. And that looks good. And there you are. There is a frame, well, the main part of the frame completed. Now it's lunchtime. Thank you. Well, lunch/dinner was quite delicious. And we also did a live. If you guys ever want, we do go live on Sundays at 3 p.m. Western Standard Time or Pacific Standard Time, California time, if that helps at all. We just mess around, talk, answer questions, stuff like that. But now what we need to do is we need to start working on the bottom cage portion of this, which means I need to figure out how tall I want to make the truck, because that's quite important. Now we get to play my favorite game of stack stuff until we get this to what we think should be the correct ride height for the truck. The way I determine ride height personally is I need the wheels and tires. These are the wheels and tires that Troy got for this particular build. They are J Concepts Fling Kings. Sure, J Concept Fling Kings. That is perfect. Weld it, send it. No. All right, let's stack some stuff till we get the height that we want out of this thing. All right, and as per usual for me, this is what I have come up with for about the right height that I want, maybe a little shorter. So I like the height of where the body is to the tire. Like I said, maybe just a little bit lower. But as you can tell, our height is a 1987 Toyota Tercel with a box of plastic spacers holding the body up to get our ride height. Now what that translates into measurements, I have no idea, but we can guess pretty well from there. I made the frame to be tucked right at the bottom of the body. That's how I guessed that. I want it a little bit lower, but we can adjust everything with the coilovers once I get those as well. This is primarily for building the bottom carrier cage. See what happens when you don't use a tape measure? You lose it all the time. You can have a good shot of my bald head. 2 3/4 inches to center of where the axle will be. Then we will guess about 6 inches and we'll adjust it from that. So 2 3/4 from 6. See, this is why I like to guess. Let's go with a 2 3/4 inch drop for the cage on the frame. Let's do that. For roll cages, this drop cage that I'm making for this mud truck, I like to use 3/16 solid weldable steel. It's cheap, it's not hollow, I can bend it. It's kind of the main things that I look for when looking at this stuff. Mainly that it's cheap. So let's bend it. I normally do it here, but it's going to hit my garage, so. Let me get my angle finder. Yep, looks about 90 to me. Is it short enough? No, still not short enough. Try to make it relatively straight and bend it again. Nope, nowhere near straight. But that way is perfectly straight, and it's perfect because everything is so bright back there that this dark stuff you can't see at all. Now we'll get our 2 3/4 inch measurement, or 2 3/4 is what I wanted. Right there. Right, so you remember how I said this wasn't perfectly straight? It probably still isn't, but it's straighter than it was. I am paying a little bit more attention to this one than I normally would for my own vehicles because I want it to be nicer since it's for somebody else. And I know Troy doesn't mind a little bit of Waffle's creativity, but he still wants his stuff to look nice, and I don't blame him. Okay, Troy, you win. Use the tape measure. So basically, I make this main hoop so that I know what to build the cage off of. So I will build a couple of these, figure out where to put them, because this is going to have to be quite a long cage, believe it or not. So there's 2 ways of doing it. You can do a main hoop that goes across the frame rail like I'm doing right now, which I have not tried this way, so I'm going to try it. The other way that I've done it with the other ones is I do the main hoop along the frame rail, along the length of the frame rail. But I have not tried it this way, so I want to try it this way. Ooh, links. I do need to figure out links, because that will determine where this needs to go. Let me make another one and get links. And there we are. Did the 2 main hoops, one for the back, one for the front, because that's where it's facing. These are the lower links that I am choosing to run on Troy's truck, because I had them for another project and they look cool. I'll get more for my own, but these are for Troy. And based on the aesthetics that he wants to do with it, I think these will look really cool. I did mark on the frame where my center line for the axle will be, right there. Then had the links, so make tabs for them, face them the correct side up and everything. But that puts it right where I put the mark for the axle. So I just have to make tabs that come off of these bars right here. Now that I have the main bars, now I can start building this cage and all the fun stuff that has to go in the cage, like, you know, a transfer case, probably an idler bearing because it's quite long. But that is going to be for tomorrow. Right now, I'm calling it a day. I'm tired, and I don't want to be tired while working on this because I want it to look good, or as good as I can possibly make it. And I have a few tricks that I want to do to make it very custom for Troy so that he knows, like, this is his. And yeah, they're on there really good. We'll get back on this tomorrow and see how far we get with this cage. Good evening. Just had a lovely, 11-hour day, but I need to make more progress to finish off this video. So now we are at the point that I am most happy. I get to do all the bar work, or some of the bar work, where I don't have to use a tape measure. That's what I'm most excited about. Where we left off is we have 2 main hoops of the drop carriage. So now I'm just going to take bars and put them places. Whatever speaks to the soul is what's going to happen. I do have a fun trick idea that I'm going to try that's different than the other 2. So let's just put you on a time lapse and you can watch me cut a bunch of these up and tack weld them in place, and hopefully we can create something with it. And just like that, the basis of the drop cage is done. So the thing that I did different, as you can see, was I brought it up this time instead of just keeping it flat. And by flat, I mean like that truck and like the original. The reason why I did that is for clearance. No, I'm kidding. It's because it's so long, honestly. I just wanted to break it up a little bit because this area right here, the middle part, is going to be the main thing that is seen on this truck when it's all, completed. So I wanted it to look kind of cool. And admittedly, yes, I use the tape measure. Once again, not for me. I want it to look good. If it makes you feel any better though, even while using the tape measure, it's still not even. But we guessed well enough to make it look halfway decent. So now I'm going to turn that off, focus on this, and I'm just going to add a bunch of accent bars for now. Try to get the main cage of this kind of all put together how I envision it in my head. Is it going to be practical? No. Is it going to look good? Sure hope so. So we'll be right back and I'll show you what I did. Excuse the mess. Fabricating is a dirty job, but there are all of the accent bars so far. That's right. I said so far. This is a good place for me to stop, honestly, because I still need to put brackets in here for, like transfer cases and control arms and stuff like that. But the basic premise, I'm loving it so far. I think Troy's going to be pretty happy. I'm going to text him a picture of it so he can see it before you guys do. Sorry, that was rude. I apologize. I like the high clearance part that I did. I think it adds a little extra flair to it. Now, is that going to hurt me when it comes to putting other stuff on here? I have no idea. We'll find out when we get there. It's not that hard to just cut that stuff out and put a flat one. I wanted it to look different. But now I want to see the truck's body on that. So let me figure out a way of putting it on there. Well, there it is. Almost close enough. It just took 2 of the tires for this truck and my cell phone. It does need to come down a little bit further because I don't want these frame rails sticking out, and obviously not back there. That's a little bit better. The front definitely needs to come down more. I don't want that, I didn't have it designed like this. But on the Sen trucks, where the bed and the cab meet, it's designed for the Sen chassis, not this. So I have to cut a little bit out here. Sorry, Troy, but not sorry. Which will bring that down to where I designed it to be. Designed. I don't know about you guys, but I sure can see the final product and I am loving it. Even without my glasses on, I can see it. That is going to be it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. Waiting on parts for this thing to come in, but we will get back onto this because I still have to mount the axles, mount the shocks, all that stuff. Now, admittedly, doing this kind of cage work would be a lot better with a TIG welder, honestly, but I don't have one. And I had a fun idea of getting one of those cheap ones on Amazon and seeing how it works, but they're still $200. So if you want to see that, please go buy some merch right here. Link will be down in the description. Be greatly appreciated. All the proceeds go to this and hopefully a very cheap TIG welder that will hopefully work. Thank you all again. We'll be back on this mud truck next week.